All right, what's up, guys? Alex, Marketer's Delight, and I've decided that I want to open up a YouTube channel and move all of the MD TV videos that I've been self-hosting over onto YouTube. I just think we can use YouTube as an opportunity to attract more people over to Marketer's Delight, and it'll create an easier kind of subscription system for you, so you can much easier see when a new video is published into MDTV. So as we go further along, these videos will get better. I'll figure out how to get my sound quality higher. I mean, I'm not a naturally loud speaker, so I'm trying to really get that sound up. But, that's something that we'll work on. So before we begin, I just want to show you real quick MD Simple Sidebars that just came out in Marketers Delight 4.62. If you haven't seen it yet, go over to the website. You can't miss it and check it out. It's been helping out a lot of people. A lot of people didn't really see this feature coming, and I have to say it's really well designed, and it's already coming in handy in my own work in ways that I really didn't even expect it to. So it's just one of those things that you didn't really think that you needed before, but once you have it, it's like whoa, I can actually do some really cool stuff with this. So check out MD Simple Sidebars if you haven't already. And with that being said, we're going to go back to the home page, and today we're talking about the inspector and 3 ways that you can use your browser inspector tool to navigate around your website and do more custom and cooler things with it. So the inspector, it really helps us do things that would be much trickier without it, essentially. So we're going to go into 3 ways of how you can use it right here. So the first thing I want to show you is how you can use the inspector to make tweaks around your website. So, I mean, this will be pretty standard for a lot of you guys, but for many people going on the Marketers Delight, they don't really know what this tool is, and it's been really useful for me and for a lot of people to work on their website with. So to make design tweaks, things like that, everyone has an idea for what they want their website to look like, but not a lot of people have the actual means of doing it. And the inspector kind of just gives you a way to look at your website in a way that really makes a lot of things click if you just give it some time to think about really what's going on over here. So as you saw, I did a right click and I inspected an element. So I inspected the title of this page. I've been updating the design of the Marketers Delight front page lately, and the inspector has really come in handy because rather than doing like a full kind of redesign, it's just more been like tweak an element here and there, and the inspector is really good for tweaking. So I did right click and I inspected, and you'll notice that there's all this HTML and stuff in here. But what was really cool is that because I right clicked over the top of the headline and I clicked inspect element rather, that it automatically brought me all the way down my HTML structure, because the page is made up of HTML, and it brought me all the way down my HTML structure, and it automatically highlighted where the title is on my page. And you can see that when I move my mouse over different HTML elements in the inspector, that it's going to highlight a whole bunch of different stuff on the actual browser. So it's just a really, really cool way to navigate your site and understand like the underlying structure of really what's going on and where everything is around your website. Understanding this will really change the game for you and how you customize and do design work on your website. So it's really worth getting to know if you're taking the design of your site seriously in any way. So as I said, we're looking at the title. We can see it's in an H1 tag, and you might be familiar with the H1 tag is all these HTML elements that have these little arrows that you can click, and it's going to open up the tag, and you can see the opening H1 tag and the closing H1 tag and all the text in between it. And you can even see that I've bolded Marketers Delight, the text itself, and then the rest of the text is just the regular weight of the HTML element. You'll also see that there's a bunch of these classes in here, and these all do different things. And you also would want to check out the MD Style Guide, marketersdelight.net/styles. It's going to give you a lot of these classes, I call them helper classes, that you can apply to your HTML elements to add pretty much a bunch of formatting without you having to write CSS. And on the topic of CSS, you'll also notice over here that we have a bunch of little CSS attributes. Some of them are in media queries, some of them aren't, but pretty much once you highlight an element such as we have this title over here, you'll see all the CSS that's applied to it. And CSS you use to adjust things like font size, padding, like spacing in between boxes, spacing in between boxes with margin, things like that. So your HTML is pretty much the structure of your site, which is over here. And then once you click on an HTML element, you'll see all the CSS that is applied to it. So as I said, I've been tweaking the Markers Delight homepage, and one of the just really ugly things about the previous version was this headline. It wasn't very big. The copy was pretty terrible. It wasn't really appealing. So I spent some time last week to just try to really fix the headline, the opening headline of the front page, because it's honestly the most important headline on this whole site. So one of the most important things I did was besides changing the actual font used on the Markers Delight site, I also increased the font size. So we have the title selected, and we'll see pretty clearly that the font size or CSS attribute is going to, I'm using my arrow key to just go up and down, and we can see that as I press my arrow key down, the font size gets smaller, and it's updating in my browser, if you can see it back here, and that's pretty cool. Line height, just one of the many other thousands of CSS, whatever you want to call it out there, and that is going to change the spacing in between the text as well. So you'll see that all this stuff is changing on my browser, but once you refresh the page, it's obviously not going to stay there. That would just be crazy if you could go to any website and manipulate their pages like that. The web would be a disaster that way. So the inspector tool is really only used for you to make tweaks as you want them, and then once you make the tweaks, you can then apply them, copy the code into your actual CSS file or whatever file you're working in to make the actual changes. So think of the inspector as just kind of like a preview tool, like a quick way for you to figure out what you want to do, and then once you have changed up all the CSS attributes, things like that, you'll be able to write the exact code, in some cases just simply copying and pasting the exact CSS selectors and all that stuff right into your child theme to make changes. So that's just an overview of how you would go about tweaking elements on your site. Again, you can just right click, inspect anything you want to tweak. In this case, I just did the button, and it's going to bring you right exactly to the point in your HTML structure where that element is, and then once there, you'll see all the CSS attributes already applied to it, and you'll be able to go in and tweak that to your liking. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you with the inspector. All right, so the second thing that I'm going to show you can use the inspector for is debugging and checking to see what scripts might be broken on your page, or if your page is loading any missing files. So we've all been there. We try to install a plugin or something like that that uses something more advanced like JavaScript, and it doesn't seem to work on the page. The intended functionality just isn't doing what we thought it would do. So what's a good way to investigate that? You at least need somewhere to begin, somewhere to say like, all right, this is the start of the problem. So we can then, once we know exactly what the error is, we can go find the file or whatever is causing that issue. So the inspector is really good for doing that. And so we'll open it up here. I'm noticing that I have this slider on the front page, but these buttons, they're not moving images. Each time you click one of these buttons, it's supposed to show you the next image in line. So I'm wondering what's going on there. Obviously, I broke it. Don't tell anybody, but I just broke it to show you for this video. So we'll open up this inspector here, and we can see that it looks a little bit different. We have these two error messages. You'll see at the top right corner, it says 2 errors up here. So you'll even want to go to your website and simply open the inspector up and check out what kind of errors your console is showing. So we can simply click or press the escape key to toggle up the console, and we'll see what these errors are exactly. So we have these 2 different kinds of errors. The first one could really explain why my slider is not sliding. It says that we have a syntax error in my front.js file. I just realized I don't know if you guys can exactly see the inspector really great. I'm going to figure out the zooming features and stuff from here on out. But pretty much the inspector telling me that the JavaScript file that adds the JavaScript to control the slider functionality is saying that it has an error inside of it, an unexpected identifier. So, if you're a web designer, you'll want to dig into the meaning of that. But we can see right off the bat that our inspector has given us kind of like the first breadcrumb in the trail towards getting this problem solved, and that it's somewhere in. And once you hover over the file name, it's going to tell you the exact path So in this case, it's in my WP content themes, my child theme folder, and then it's just one of my scripts. So that's how I know that the file is messed up from that. So the second error then is fail to load resource error. So that pretty much means that we have a broken image somewhere that maybe I copy and pasted the URL wrong. Maybe I deleted some characters from the URL, something like that. So, well, first of all, we'll go in and fix this JavaScript error because, like I said, I broke it, so I know exactly what's going on. So I have my file open in my code editor, and I'm just gonna add in the stuff that I removed from it. So it's really nice to just have the inspector tell you kind of where to look, and this is going to be really useful for your plugins as well. If you install any plugins that come with broken scripts or something like that. So we'll see now that I reloaded the page and I fixed my JavaScript file, so the slider is working, and now this is obviously not right. This is what the broken image thing is talking about. So that's actually going to be a pretty common thing that you might run into, is having broken images around your site anyways, especially if you're moving a site, something like that. And this will actually go into point 3 as well. So obviously loading broken images are bad because it's going to kind of hang up the browser a little bit. The browser's going to get a little confused trying to load this broken image, and it could, that kind of thing could impact page performance. So, it could be worth going around your different pages and with the inspector open, and just as you go to different pages, notice what images, or notice if any errors come up in the inspector, and then see if it's one of those 404 not found errors, and see if you have broken images or even missing scripts. Sometimes plugins delete files, they forget to get rid of the file source in the URL, and they're just loading a missing file. So all these things can really impact your performance, and the inspector can tell you, hey, like, you're missing files, here's the file that you need to know to fix it. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you what you can use the inspector for. Number 3 is to solve mixed content warnings with SSL certificates. So SSL is becoming a much bigger deal on the web. Pretty much if you're running an e-commerce store, anything that sells any kind of product on the web, you're going to need to make your site SSL. And essentially what that really means is your URL is going to have that green lock icon on your page. And in a lot of cases, when you're moving your site from a non-secure to a secure SSL, you're going to run into these mixed content warnings because your page is loading insecure content from before you had that certificate showing up. And the way you're going to know that is you would expect your URL to show up with that green lock icon in the browser, and it doesn't. Instead, it has this gray HTTPS up here, and say, all right, well, that doesn't really look good. I want that green lock icon. What is holding me back? And the thing that really does it, like I said, is your site is loading old insecure content, and we can use the inspector to figure out on a page-per-page basis what content is being loaded that's insecure. So as always, we'll just open up the inspector, and it's going to come up. So now instead of seeing that red error message, we're going to see this yellow warning message. And so we'll open up the console just like we did before. We can click on it or press the escape key, and we'll see this mixed content error. And now, depending on how many individual insecure content pieces you're loading, you'll see a whole bunch of errors. But in this case, we only have this one error page, or this one warning message, and it's pretty much telling me that I'm loading an image that's insecure, and it's talking about this image right here. And so we can see that the site is still loading the image, but it's just not doing it over HTTPS. And that's the biggest change about adding an SSL certificate, is that it changes the URL of your site from HTTP to HTTPS. So this little thing right here, you can see that this image is doing the HTTP load when it needs to have that S on the end. So this console will just pretty much, if you run it on every single page that has a broken SSL in the URL, you can see what images are broken, and you can go in and find what images they are, find where they are on your website, and then fix them. So in this case, I know that I coded this into my template file, and here it is right here. All I need to do to fix the URL is just simply put an S at the end. And then once we save that, we'll refresh our page, and we'll see that the URL goes from gray to that secure green with the lock icon. So we're all good to go on that page. And then, you might need to go across your other different pages to verify that you have secure content on every page. So these issues are really only going to come up as you move from an insecure site to an SSL site. So that's another really useful way to use the inspector to solve problems like that. Alright guys, that's everything I got for you on this video on 3 ways to use the inspector. I hope you were able to pull something away from it, whether you're experienced with the inspector already, just kind of get a new perspective on how to look at it, or if you've never seen it before, hopefully you'll be able to dive in and go explore your website more. Again, the inspector, it's just a very good investigative tool for solving the problems that come up on your website, and it's going to, more likely than not, it's going to give you at least a small little breadcrumb to help you get a step or two closer to solving whatever errors come up on your website. Again, you can use this to debug plugins that don't seem to be acting right, or even if you're doing your own design development work, you can use it to streamline the way that you make tweaks and even find errors in any scripting and things like that you wrote. Of course, if you're moving to SSL, or if you wanted to clean up your web pages, find any broken images, it's going to be a really great tool for that as well. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, like, leave a comment, and if there's any specific videos you want to see me do, let me know about it in any way possible. I'm responsive over email, over to Marcus Light forums, and now in these YouTube comments. So I hope you enjoy this MDTV episode. We're going to be working on a lot more, and hopefully these videos are just going to keep improving. Like I said, audio quality, content, all that stuff. So thanks a lot for watching. This is Alex, Marketer's Delight, and I'll see you in the next video.